Mad doggy dog in the building. Yeah, man. Sorry, I just watched my video back from last night and I was barely awake, man. So if the enthusiasm wasn't quite there, you guys have my apologies, but I'm gonna do a little bit right now to make up for it. Um, boy, Francis Ngannou, you got to feel for him, man, because like it's so easy to be a Francis Ngannou fan, just with the whole like personality and charisma that he has, and obviously his whole backstory. And something that I just absolutely loved was in the post-fight press conference, he sat down next to AJ, and I think one of the first things he said was like, "That was a clean one, eh?" That was clean. And I think it's just a case of being a knockout artist himself, right? As much as it might have been disappointing and embarrassing to have been starched like that, he couldn't help but have like a begrudging, you know, a begrudging acknowledgement or admiration for just how clean he got starched out. You know what I'm saying? He's normally the other one. Oh man, sun decided to come out at the wrong time. But yeah, he couldn't help but admire the way that right hand just absolutely stretched him out. And I do think, I don't know if I made this point yesterday, I don't think I did, but I think there's a lot to be said for second season syndrome. You know, when you're doing something for the first time, your belt embraces about it all because you don't want to make a mistake. It's your first time and you're methodical in all that you do and all that you've worked on, right? But then when you have that kind of, I suppose people call it beginner's luck. I don't really believe in beginner's luck. I think what we think of as beginner's luck is actually the lack of data that your opponents have on you. And so it's impossible to really see you coming or read you. And then it's also just like the diligence and the focus and the method that you have to your work, being a beginner, right? And so those two things combined create an element of luck. But then there's also like, as I say, this saying about second season syndrome. And I think that ultimately comes down to you second guessing yourself to an extent. Because at first, I mean, as I just explained, you're on the ball, but then you're kind of thinking to yourself, oh man, let me experiment, let me try this. I'm nice with this, man. I'm nice with this boxing, boy. You know what I'm saying? And then you end up like trying to turn southpaw in the first round. And and that lack of concentration, that willingness to gamble, experiment, um, and I suppose lack of adherence to, you know what I mean, what made you successful in the first place, plus the fact that there's data on you now, you know, people can prepare for you. All of that ended up hurting Francis. Do you know what I'm saying? But boy, what I will say is I think, and I've said this before, I don't know whether I said this on a video or I said it in a WhatsApp group with the boys, but I think that this Jones and Ngannou fight is gonna happen, man. And I think it's going to happen sooner than we think. And the reason is that with this parent company that owns WWE and UFC, they're really trying to expand their work in Saudi, right? Because you don't want to be the only one missing out. Everyone in sport is making that money, yeah, from Turkey Al Sheikh, who runs the General Entertainment Authority, which is, you know, a government funded body and is operating as part of this whole Vision 2030 program that is ultimately the brain of uh, Mohammed bin Salman, Crown Prince and Supreme Ruler of the kingdom, right? And this is a once in a generation opportunity to pocket crazy dough. And the point is, it's not just about the upside, it's about the risk of downside, right? You don't want to piss these people off, bro, because it's not just the other UFC shows, yeah, that they're willing to pay for or not, but it's the other WWE shows that they're willing to pay for or not, right? So people talk about Dana White and maybe not wanting to work. Listen, this shit is not this isn't even a Dana White decision. This shit could go above Dana White. This is going to Ari Emanuel or whatever his name is that runs the parent company. And so, what I'm saying, if they're being offered like say 12 dates a year, right? If you think about what the overall budget for those 12 dates are, they could be six UFC dates, six WWE dates, and you don't want to come to the table and negotiate, right? And treat Alex Sheikh respectfully, he might just say, all right, cool. Don't worry about the fight then. I mean, but fuck your 12 dates. Do you know what I mean? That could be like major, major dough, bro, for the UFC. Do you know what I'm saying? Or for the parent company. You know what I mean? Like, let's say each of these events, yeah, has a budget of like 50 M's. Do you know what I mean? And let's say the promoters copying, you know, 20%, right? Is the usual promoter's fee, yeah? So, I mean, you're talking like 10 M's, bro, times 12. You're talking about 120 million, bro. Do you know what I mean? Just for UFC stroke WWE. I forget. I'm not sure if it's called Endeavor or whether it's called something else, yeah, or KO Sports or something. Bro, like you ain't gonna lose 120 M's, bro. I'm saying, like, yeah, no business, especially not one with shareholders, is gonna be like, oh yeah, let's lose a 120 M contract a year. Do you know what I mean? A year, right? And so between now and 2030, what we talking about? Like, they might be trying to spend this kind of money for the next 6 years. Do you know what I mean? 120 times six, my maths isn't great, but I think that's 720. I mean, 720 million. Like, that's crazy dough, bro. 700, like three-quarters of a billion, bro. Who gives a fuck if he left the UFC, man? If they say we want to put this fight on, they're putting this fight on. And it could be PFL versus UFC. It could be absolutely huge. Do you know what I'm saying? And if they're making Eddie Hearn and fucking Frank Warren act like they're like best mates, yeah, then I think that they can bring Dana White to the table and make this Jones Ngannou fight. And if we look at what's next for AJ, um, you know, just as impressive as the performance is probably the demeanor. He really has mastered this whole stoic demeanor and the way he conducts himself. There's still like little elements of the volatile AJ. He still kind of feels like he needs to um get the last word, win or lose, and all of that. But old habits die hard. But he's definitely in a much better mental. And I think if Fury beats Usyk and beats him convincingly, then it's definitely gonna be Fury versus AJ. I mean, Team Fury have definitely been talking about, no, I'm doing two fights against Usyk back to back no matter what, because that's their contractual position. So I think that's just a negotiating technique that they're getting out of the way early, that they want to say, no, look, this is what we're doing. But that's just a way of trying to extract more money, right? So if Atlas Sheikh says, no, I want you to fight AJ, it's like, okay, well, listen, I got a contract that says otherwise, but if you pay me enough, we can change the plan, right? But ultimately, with the kind of money they have at their disposal, I don't see that being a hurdle. I think that the fight can happen directly after Usyk, as long as Fury wins and wins convincingly, right? Um, because then even Usyk will be happy to like, do the step aside and the rest of it. But if Usyk wins, it's a harder sell to do the third fight, no matter how good AJ has been looking recently, because Usyk's a completely different type of fighter. And having coming off a win over Fury as well, people just look at it and say, I mean, he's probably just going to wash Joshua a third time. And there's no way the Fury will forego his rematch. There's absolutely no way, right? He's not going to let Joshua fight Usyk. It's just not going to happen. So, yeah, man, if you want to see that fight, I guess you need to turn into a Fury fan. I think for a good proportion of the British public, it's kind of swung one way, now it's swung back the other way. Everyone's kind of back on Team AJ's side. And so it's going to be difficult to want to support Fury But listen, even Eddie Hearn is saying even Eddie Hearn's desperate for Fury to win, just so that fight can happen. And but listen, if they do end up doing two fights for whatever reason, I wouldn't be surprised if AJ fights somebody like who are they talking about? The guy for the IBF, Croatian brother. His name's escaping me now, Hergovic. But equally, it's all about the money, it's all about the entertainment. I'm not sure how many people really want to see that. So maybe they could do that fight with a big undercard, or maybe they pull someone like Wilder out, just for old time's sake, just to say that that fight happened, you know. And maybe Wilder wouldn't want to take it because he knows what's going to happen. But I think AJ would be bang up for that, man. I think he would be absolutely bang up for that, just to be able to put that whole conversation to bed. But maybe they do the Parker fight. Maybe they do Parker rematch. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that could get interesting. That could get interesting for sure. Um, we'll see what happens. I think if I had to pick right now, I'm probably edging towards Fury still for that Fury Usyk fight, just because of the dimensions really, and just because I think at 37 you're not gonna have the same skills that Usyk had when he was 34 when he first beat AJ. It's the anticipation, it's the volume punching, it's the reflexes. All of those things they decline with age, but power doesn't, right? But power's not really Usyk's game like that. So yeah, I think at 37, maybe slowing down a little bit. We saw that in the early rounds against Dubois. I think, you know what I mean, Fury looking very, very trim already, you know what I mean? Probably 8 weeks out from the fight still. I think, and just Fury being able to get away with what he can get away with as well. Um, I still think that a lot of it will have to do with the referee. I think that that could influence the fight massively. But listen, as a betting man, I'd have to go with Fury really. So yeah, man, that's the way I see it going. And when's the next video gonna be? I don't know. Maybe if the Garcia Devin fight goes ahead, which I don't think it will, I might do a video for that. But yeah, man, big fights only at this point. Um, oh shit, seems I'm here. Talk about Eubank versus Crawford. I don't know about that, man. I really don't. I mean, it's interest probably be a laugh. Do you know what I mean? See Crawford go up 2 weight classes, but ain't they got the same coach? Do you know what I mean? Aren't they both with Bomac? Um, so yeah, I don't know whether it's just a case of like it's a nice little money fight, and Eubank doesn't really care about his O anymore, and because it's long gone. And Crawford, it's a nice little way to make a splash at 160 and audition for an eventual Canelo fight. Who knows? But personally, I think like Crawford should just be fighting one of the Charlos, Like if you want Canelo, do a better job than he did on Charlo. Do you know what I mean? If you can stop Charlo, Canelo couldn't. And especially if you fight him at his own weight class, you could become world champion 3 different weight classes, um, lineal champion 3 different weight classes. And why not do that, man? I don't know. Crawford's always been a bit funny, if you ask me, with his fight selection. And so is Eubank. But it sounds like Canelo's gonna fight who they saying? Munguia on PBC. That must burn for Eddie, man. I mean, shit, Eddie's doing his thing, bro. I mean, who am I to who am I to like talk shit about someone like Eddie Hearn? But I think it was a bit of an error talking the way he was. Because the way he was talking a couple of weeks ago was that, PBC had completely fucked up and they were chances and this and that and unprofessional, making promises they couldn't keep. And he was going to get Canelo back. And I told everyone that we don't know how long this deal is going to be. He was just talking the most shit, yeah. And like, that's fine if you've got it in the bag. But to talk all that shit and now Canelo stays with PBC and fights a DAZN fighter on the PBC, you've mugged yourself off, mate. You've mugged yourself off. Like if you would just shut the fuck up, yeah, then no one would have known, yeah. And then if you did pull it off, even better, then you can rub it in De La Hoya's face. Then you can rub it in Heyman's face, right? Ellaby, all the rest of it. But now you've made yourself look a right mug, mate, to be honest with you. And I think there's a lesson in there, do you know what I mean? For everyone listening, all 12 of you guys, yeah, myself included, don't start talking shit until it's in the bag. Do you know what I mean? Like when you got this shit in the bag, when it's signed, sealed, and delivered, you know what I mean? And then you must talk shit. Do you know what I mean? Talk shit after the job's done. But yeah, life lesson in there somewhere. All right, man. Peace.